I'm James D'Angelo. I'm here to speak particularly about my work with sound therapy, which stems from my life in music. David Hikes in the harmonic choir came on the scene in New York, which is where I was at the time in the 1980s, and it was a remarkable kind of music, if you could call it music, where you had a choir of people who produced the upper parts of the human voice, what we call overtones, and drew them together as a choir. And when I heard this, I said, this is the music of the 21st century. That's how much I took to it. And I think maybe speaking about overtoning, to give you an idea, even at this point, if you like, what this phenomena is that I'm speaking of. So I have singing bowl from Tibet, and when I strike that sound, you hear a multiplicity of sound. You'd be hard-pressed to say, this is just a single note, and you could sing it. So you hear a lower region of sound, and you hear an upper region of sound, multiplicity of vibrations. So for me, that's clearly an example that this phenomenon of overtones exists in harmonious sound. And it's the overtones is the magic ingredient. It makes the sound organic. Just like people today, they buy organic food because they think it's healthier. And if you see Korean photography of, let's say, a lettuce, you see it sparkling with an aura all around it because it is organic. So this is the aura of sound. Now if we take tuning forks as another example, here is a C and a G in a perfect 3:2 ratio. And first I'll just strike them on my kneecaps. And in hearing that sound, I know it's quiet, primarily you hear only the fundamental notes, the C and the G. I'll strike them a bit harder. And these can be used as a meditational tool, tuning into a kind of perfection of two notes making an interval. They were created by a therapist and musician in New York called Jean Beaulieu. Well now, if we take these same forks and excite them, overexcite them by striking them together at the same time, you hear higher tones pouring out. It's not the same quality of sound. We're now exposing the fact that they're higher or overtones. So that's another example of this phenomena that I discovered back in the 80s. And finally, taking a particular note, I'm going to show you that the human voice has them. We all have them. As soon as people begin to speak, they speak in overtones. And that is the genetics of their particular sound. What are strong in them, what are weak, what are absent, all of that gives them a particular quality and gives a particular quality to what my voice is. So here I'll make a tone and then split it into some higher tones. So you hear the rising and the falling of such tones. And they are the enrichment which makes the human voice the greatest healing instrument we have, from my point of view. And then I was directed to a woman called Jill Peirce, coming to London, as I did in the 1980s, and saw that she was doing the very same thing. I had no thoughts that I would be coming into a therapeutic sound field, still at that point. I began to learn the overtoning with someone else named Roland Rakelli, an excellent teacher of this. And then the moment came when a society asked me to run a music workshop. Okay? And I enjoyed it, and I just did literally a music workshop. And I did another one. And it was then at that point that I thought I could do research and make these workshops, not just music workshops, but pure sound phenomenon workshops that would somehow transform people from the point of view of their spirit, of their mind, and their body. So this is the point that I came to, and doors began to open. That enrichment of it gives it more penetration, it gives more frequencies to the energy centers if you're focused on the energy centers, or whether you're focused on the organs of the body. It's just simply an enrichment that you wouldn't have with electronic sound, where there's minimal overtones, or none at all, because with electronics you can literally strip the overtones away and have pure, dull, flat electronic sound. The chakras are our soul life, because in this thing that we call the soul exists all of our characteristics. And each one of these 7 regions or wheels, as we go up through the spine, expresses something of our character. So if we take the solar plexus, its function within the soul is how we express our authority. Is it in balance or is it out of balance? If it's out of balance, then people are simply aggressive, getting their own way. They don't, that's one extreme. And the other extreme is the person who can't express authority is rather fearful and is rather cowardly. The object is to get the wheel, which is what the chakra means, to start to flow and move towards its optimum spin through listening to its sound. As it sympathetically vibrates with its sound, it will begin to say, in effect, yes, that I understand that sound, and I should be in synchronization with it, and I'm not. And through the presence of this repetitious sound that we give it, it will begin to remember its sound and move in that direction. It's an ongoing process. It's not going to happen in one session to do it. So it's self-empowering. It's a practice of working with that. And then we get what we might call a purification. Some people like to say it's a removal of a blockage, but I rather like the idea that you're purifying, getting rid of these certain resistances that are holding it in check. Now, anything that happens in your physical body as a result of this is byproduct. When working with chakras, I don't think anything about what am I doing to the body. I let the body get on with it. And people have wonderful experiences with the body. They become quite relaxed, and they can see that, or they can even to the point where their back, if it's stiff might loosen up. They didn't even say such things occur. But I'm not aiming to work directly on the physical body with those things. Now, because these chakras are complex, I mean, one Indian person who works a lot with the chakras talks about micro chakras, that the chakra isn't singular, but it's a complex affair. So that's why it can respond to vowels, to consonances, and to syllables, because it's a very simple process. I don't give people in any way a complex mantra based on Sanskrit, for example. It's quite naturalistic, and it shows that actually there is an innate power to our alphabet. Big question. My answer is no. My answer is the frequency as such, not musical frequencies, so that, we go back to a fork. Here's a very deep fork that I can use on the body. That's a low C at 64 cycles per second. I'm not convinced that musical frequencies as such there is a correspondence. But the vowels, right, the vowels have their own inherent frequencies. And so if I use the vowel I could use it there. I could use it there. I can use it at any point in my voice. What the chakra is responding to is all, not the note. Yeah, and the same thing with consonants, although consonants is almost always, in order to project them, need a little bit of vowel added to them. To do a pure consonant, like for example, a Y is almost impossible. As soon as you do y, you hear E is creeping into the sound. But they have their own effects, and I take that from Tantra Yoga. The Taoist sounds is that when there's a weakness in an organ, and you're putting stress on it anyway, because stress will go to weakness, it becomes overheated. That's where it's now out of balance. The cooling system is failing, and it's putting pressure on the organ. The sounds in this Taoist tradition, its purpose is literally to act as a kind of coolant, if you will, of a sound. And the membrane around the organ gets sticky, and this also has to be relieved. So those sounds are directed to the physical body, but many people who come to me, they will tell me, well, as far as they know, all their organs are fine. I said, yes, all right, but let me ask you this. Do any of you get angry very easily? You flare up at the least little thing. Well, I said, if you do, that emotion is placing stress on the liver. So it's well worth doing the liver sound from the point of view of the psychology of diminishing this idea that you have to be angry all the time. I know it sounds simplistic, but there is a psychological component to it. But initially, the idea is to work at the physical level with the Taoist sounds for the organs. This was brought to the West by a Buddhist teacher named Mantak Chia. And people can look that name up and find about the books he's written if they're more to go further. They're quite unique. I'll just show you one as I've brought this up, and because they also contain a movement, and it is a movement that is done in a seated position at the edge of your chair. So I'll just do it. It's a kind of inward hissing sound, and so you follow your hands up, taking a breath in, and the hands come right the way round, so they're flat to the ceiling, and you're looking up at your hands. And now it's a feeling of the opening up of the chest. This is the lung sound within the Taoist tradition. I'm going to do an inward hiss. You're not going to hear the full blast of the hiss, only a little bit, because I'm keeping it contained within the mouth, so it's inner directed sound. It's not going out, it's going down, back in. And when I've exhausted my breath, then I just quietly bring the hands down. Some people are thinking, oh, it's not so different. Of course it's not. In Tai Chi and this whole idea of moving everything in slow motion, bringing the hands back to your lap, and then I'm going to move a bit faster to complete it for the moment. And then you rest in the sounds, whispering it to yourself, smiling within to the lungs. And you can do this daily, as a daily practice. The lungs is a good one, because there's many people out there who have trouble with breath, or with asthma for that matter. So it's a really practical one. And if I could only teach one on a day, I usually teach that one. So there's something that starts as physical, but it's also psychological. Sounds that you and I make when our emotions are very heightened. I suppose the greatest of these is humming, in my point of view. Humming is wonderful. It's really the true sound of who you are. If you had to, and look at the little baby who comes into the world, goes making that already. Laughter is another one. Laughter, and of course it's very much in the world. I suppose of all the ones people easily express themselves in various kinds of laugh sounds. There's groaning. People don't groan when they're in pain. They would suppress that, and if they would groan, it would be helpful. Wailing, which is another form, I guess it's the song, or song, it's lovely, song or sound of sorrow. And sighing, which is that of release, of relief from something. Laughter is based on the breath. Theoretically, laughter does not have to make a sound. I can laugh as follows. I'm hardly making a sound, but I'm laughing because I'm working the abdominal muscles, and that's why it's so powerful. It strikes here. They say that laughter is boosting your immune system. I mean, this is the medical profession has now put their seal of approval on this, and that's because that is coming up and striking that master gland, the thymus next to the heart. Yeah. Well, it's certainly new to the West. Yeah. It was not new, you know. We get so much from the East and the Far East and the Middle East in the way of toning and chanting and mantra. I mean, they've known that. And the other thing is that they integrate it with their spiritual philosophy. Where we in the West, if you want to take the Christian tradition, the best thing that has come out of that is Gregorian chant. But who is doing that today except the monks in the monasteries? Cathedrals are not doing it. It's not being practiced. One thing that's come out from the south of France is a place called Taizé, and there's been Taizé chanting, and it's very lovely, and people take to it, and they like the idea, and they know this idea of repeating something again and again makes a kind of big rhythmic affair, wave after wave of wave. It's so natural. In fact, this is one thing that I haven't demonstrated to you, are these bells. Now, I use them as a way for people to come out of meditation. Others do too. But actually, their design is the opposite, to bring you into meditation. So when you strike the two bells, it's a singular note because they're very close, the two, but not exact. And that's purposefully done. And there's this pulsation. There's a school of Indian philosophy that says that the nature of consciousness is this very thing, this pulse. There's something throbbing and pulsating deep within us, and that is the essential being that you are. And so that whole idea, that's why repetition in rhythm is effective in working with vocal sound, and that's the way I do it. So if I have the vocal sound of ah, ha, ha, ha. It's like, I describe it as a kind of scrubbing brush action, you see. Yeah. It digs deeper than just holding a sound steady. Oh, it's the power is considerably more. Well, you bring this in this word cymatics, and I would speak about Peter Guy Manners, who was a pioneer in this. He kept it quite secret. He said he worked with other scientists somewhere in Europe, in mainland Europe, and they came up with this scheme, but he remained mysterious about why does it work, because he had what he called computations for not only all the various parts of the physical body, but even things psychologically. And they were all a mix of 5 different frequencies of sound that he put into the body. In the early days with that, he had an instrument which used cassette tapes, which meant that you could actually play directly into the body, because it was an applicator. I mean, you literally put the microphone, as it were, directly onto the physical body. Yeah? And so you could play a particular composer's music. And I interviewed him several times, and he said there was a case of a woman who had an intestinal blockage that he cleared by playing the music of Wagner directly into her abdomen. He also knew that sound travels very well through water. It's a very good carrier, and created a hydro pool and put the sounds in, had people just go in the pool and worked on. Unfortunately, he never put out any statistics. People were quite wary. Was he actually having them on? But I don't think so. I think he was just a pioneer working. Now the instrument has been improved. It's all done with electronics. It's all produced electronically. Christopher Gibbs is the inheritor of Peter Guy Manners' system in this country. So that's a thing. But there's another thing, that the word cymatics was also used by Hans Jenny. And Hans Jenny showed that sound creates form. That if you placed certain materials, they had to be materials, it couldn't be a block of hard iron, something that was relative, could be moved. If you placed those materials, let's say a powder on a plate, he used a steel plate, attached to it was a speaker, and he would put sounds in, primarily electronically produced sound, and watch what would happen. And various forms would appear in the sand or in the substance, depending on the substance, of course, how loud he played the note, and at what frequency he played the note. So, but it makes sense. It's like yantras in India are realizations, are visual realizations of mantras. So that sound and its form can be made visible. So that's what Hans Jenny called cymatics as well. It's the same idea in that, in this case, water is responding, can respond to sound and tell you what it feels about these sounds. And so he's done classical music and pop music where after the water has listened to the music, and people might say, how can water listen to music? Where are the ears? But that's, plants listen to music. That's all, the experiments there have certainly been done in showing the growth with certain types of music or, So then the next day, he freezes that water and then looks at the crystal formations of the ice. And this tells you how the water has felt and experienced the music. And in great music, you see these lovely, lovely snowflake-like crystal shapes. But then, on the other hand, there's a picture in one of his books of heavy metal music, and you see the disturbance of the crystal. It's not been able to form anything. And Masaru said it could be the lyrics of this song that disturbed it. Well, you think, how can water understand lyrics of a song? The sounds itself, yes. So it's a fascinating subject. Everyone should be part of a choir and at least go once a week to a singing group and do some singing. Because it's better to be an active person musically than to be passive. So singing is the first level of sound health, as I like to say. The next level is chanting, which is a very concentrated form, but you still feel, well, I'm singing some kind of melody, but it's a very narrow melody and it's repetitive. And finally, what I've been talking about today is the toning, where toning is like extracting the vitamins and minerals out of food. So you take, you're getting the smallest packet of sound you can, a single sound with a single vowel or a single syllable, and you're squeezing the juice from it. So that's the juice. That's the expression I like to use in the workshops. Squeeze as much juice from these sounds as possible. It's not all, but and of course, it works to a greater degree when you're with the group, because you're getting the intention of that whole group coming together. You have multiple frequencies. I let them use their intuition. Yes. I don't say, now we're going to do this on this note. No. We begin, you're on whatever note comes to you. Don't think about it, let it come out. And so we get enrichments and magical things happen because the human voice blends no matter what the combination of tones are. You can get chords, wonderful chords coming out. Where did that come from? And that's as the group becomes as more and more unified. And that's what you see even in one day. There's already a transformation, a loosening, a relaxing as people come into it. At first, yes, of course, there's some apprehension. What's this all about? What's it going to do to me? In the last workshop I did, the first tonings we have, and I in a one-day workshop, I'll ask just once, what effect did this have on you? And you get so many different answers. Almost always positive. And one person began to speak and she just started crying. Something was, through that particular sound, released a tension that had built up in her. And she knew what it was because I asked her later. So there you have it. We have this voice for more than just chatting away as people do. Oh, my goodness me. How much people say that they don't need to say. They could say so much less. But it's a way of just projecting your personality, keeping it going. Because if you stop talking, well, where am I? You know. It's a good question because I feel I've come to a plateau. It's become very refined, what I do, and there's nothing new I've been adding to it. So one way to go, and I think I mentioned this earlier in our interview, is to collaborating with someone else who is working along similar lines and feels that the relationship between sound and movement is a strong relationship. And so I will collaborate with a teacher of yoga. That's the intention. And that's all I can say at this point. I'd like them to continue because they give so much back to me. And to be with those kindred spirits who want this is wonderful.